Hey gang, John here, Gates Underwater. Ready to go over the setup and functional test of the Gates ME20 underwater housing. This housing is made specifically for the Canon ME20 ultra low light camera. Two things we are not going to cover here are the setup of the front end of the lens area with the lens gear drives. That's a different video, separate video. We're also not going to cover the setup of the external monitor, in this case the TVL55. This has already been done and is also a separate video. So we're going to focus here on just setting up the camera and recorder into the housing, doing a functional check on all the controls and make sure it's operable. All right, with that said, let's get to it. First up, let's make a tour of the controls you have available to you. On this kit, you've got two controls on the right side. These are both lens controls that can be mapped forward to focus, iris, or zoom. You also have another one, a third one, on the left side that does the same. Now, because this camera has very few controls on it, we have available to us the user 1 and user 2 buttons on the camera via this control on the rear. One other control is up here on the left front below the lens control is the master power. This turns on power to the entire system, camera, recorder, and if we were using the transvideo monitor, it would power the transvideo as well. Lastly, we'll get to toward the end, there are two buttons in the window of the housing. These are for activating record and playback on the Gemini. All right, let's get started here. I'm going to take the rear shell off. I'll do the 3 latches, and I'll set this aside. And what this will expose now is the bracket. Okay. I'm going to back up here, and I'm going to remove So that's a tour of the controls of the housing. So let's move on. First thing I'm going to do is remove the port and port ring because we're going to need access to the front end to put a lens on in a bit. So I'll rotate my port 90 degrees, move it out of the way, and then I'll rotate the port ring 90 degrees, remove it, and we're clear. Okay, next, take the back shell off. 3 latches. Release the locks, and okay, let's orient this so I can get the back shell, get it off. Oops, I've got a latch on it. There we go. Now it's free, and I'll set that aside. Now, what's exposed here is a bracket for the Gemini, and you'll see some power cables, SDI cable down here. This SDI cable is for surface feed. If you have a video surface feed needed, then this will plug into the camera. We'll get to that in a moment. All right, to remove this bracketry in the camera mount, there is a locking lever on the right side of the dovetail mount. You're going to slide it to the rear, and this will just slide out of the housing. Whoops, there's 2 of my mount screws. Okay, we'll set that off to the side for just a moment. The camera has 4 mount locations on the top, and the camera mount is going to mount to those 4 locations. But first I have to remove the 2 screws that are holding the dovetail in place. So we'll start there. Loosen them up, and I can then do it by finger loosening the dovetail mount. And we'll set that aside for the moment. All right, next step is straightforward. We'll make the 4 screws up. Make sure your camera is upright, not upside down. That's a common error. And we will tighten these in place. As always, most screws are tightened down to be just snug. Do not over tighten them. Okay. Check all four. All right, we're in good shape there. All right, I'm going to slide this forward so I can work on this on the table. All right, got my camera mounted. Now I'm going to mount my dovetail back on top. I've got 2 alignment posts that the dovetail will mate with. There we go. And seat into it. Finger tighten these down. Okay. And again, just snug. Do not over tighten. All right. Camera's mounted, dovetail's on. Next step, let's put the Gemini in place. On the Gemini, there are 4 holes on each side, only 2 of which we care about. Now, on this one, which comes from Gates, they are marked, and they're the two in the forward position on each side. All right, so I've got 4 metric mounting screws. I'm going to turn it on the side so I can line up my holes. Make this a bit easier to get the screws in. And get them started. There's one. Okay. There's 2. Come over to the other side. There's 3 and 4. I leave all 4 screws loose until I get them all started. And then, with the 2.5mm tool, we'll finish tightening them down. Okay, I am in good shape here now. I've got the Gemini attached, I've got my camera, and now's a good time to connect the camera and the Gemini together. So, the camera's got 2 outputs on it. We want the lower one, which is the clean SDI feed, to connect up to SDI-A on the Gemini. So, the bottom SDI output to the SDI-A input on the Gemini. Okay, we're good there. Now, we are ready to insert this into the housing, but we want to do a couple of things before we do that. One of them, and I'll set this aside, is insert the system battery. Now, this battery is good for 2 hours of driving the camera and the Gemini. The kit comes with 3 batteries and 2 chargers, so there's plenty of time to charge them up between dives. And this will insert in the bottom right into the guide. Go till it stops and then press until it snaps into place. It is locked in and it's ready to power the system. Now, if we look at the power harness, we've got a connector to power the camera, one to power the Gemini, and this one is to power, if you're using the Transvideo Starlight external monitor, this is power for that. In this case, since we're using the TVL55, we don't care about that. All right. Let's move our SDI out of the way here. Now, we are ready to insert the camera. The way you do that is make sure your locking lever is in its unlocked position, and then mate the dovetail, and we'll get my SDI feed out of the way again, and gently slide in till it stops. Slide this back where I can work on it. All right. We're in. I'm not going to lock this down just yet because I want to have a little bit of flexibility to connect up my external monitor, which now is a good time to do that. So, my TVL55 is ready to be mounted up. So I'm going to slide that in the dovetail on the top, lock it down, and now I'm going to insert this into the pass-through fitting on the housing. Got a lot of lead here, which I don't really need, so I'm going to loop this around the base to take up some of that slack. And then I'm going to gently feed this into the housing to where I can get to it on the inside and guide it to the rear where I'm going to plug it into the camera. All right, so I've got my SDI feed for the monitor. Insert, and now tighten down the brass collar fully till it stops to get a good seal. Don't need to over tighten, just till it stops. And now this is my monitor. So the top SDI feed on the camera is where this will plug in. A little tight in there, but get your fingers into it and connect, lock down. All right, very good. Good shape there. Now, before I fully insert and lock down, I'm going to connect up my power leads. So my XLR connector into the camera. And it will connect and disconnect while the Gemini is in place. All right, and now I'll connect up my Gemini power. All right, there we go. Now, again, I don't need this power, so I'm just going to tuck this out of the way, up underneath, so it's clear. Last thing, I've got a surface feed video that, since I've taken up both of my connections on the camera, I need to go into the Gemini output, the SDI-A out. So, in this case, I am going to slide all the way in until it stops, and bring this down underneath and connect up to SDI-A output. Okay, I'm fully connected now between housing and camera to Gemini. So I'm going to reach in and I'm going to push this forward so it's fully seated forward, and I'm going to lock the camera into position. All right, we're all good there. Before I power up and make sure it's functional, I'm going to put my lens on. Mate here properly and get my locking ring in place, and now I've got my lens in there. Okay, we're good shape there. Now I'm ready to do a functional test and power up the system. So turn my Gemini on and master power switch. As you can hear, there's a very positive click to the master power, so you definitely know that it's come on. Gemini is already powered up. It's already looking for its SSDs. I have video in my monitor, and I can see the LED on the camera is on, and of course it is because I've got an image here. All right. Hey, we're in really good shape here. We've got connection between the camera and the Gemini. I got green lights on my SSDs, and I've got a good display in my Gemini. I've got my overlay. So we are in good functional shape here. Master power works, we know that. And it's time to, I'm going to shut system power off for the moment while I put the rear shell on. And one thing to note when mating the rear shell, this is your assignable 1-2 control, which will activate the 2 assignables on the camera. Make those 2 assignables anything that works for you. In this case, I've got them set up for setting white balance, and the other one for switching over to infrared mode. But there's other functions in there that you can use. Set them up as you see fit. Now let's just get this control out of the way by bringing it over to the edge of the shell, and we will mate this to the housing. Always stop if you hit obstructions. The shell should mate without hitting anything. If you do, stop, go back, and look for that obstruction and clear it. Get our latches in place. Do any two at one time, and then the third. All right, locked in place. Let's get our user 1-2 control lined up to where it's going to activate. All right, and that's in good shape. All right, power the system back on. Gemini camera. All right, got an image on my Gemini. on the Gemini, and I've got an image coming up on my TV Logic. And there we go. Now, very important, well, let's check our user 1 and 2 control. There's my white balance being set, so I've got good activation there. And there's my infrared mode showing. So if both user 1 and 2 are good, functionally checked now, we're in good shape. Last thing I want to tell you about this setup is I mentioned very early on that we've got 2 controls on the Gemini itself. One is to start and stop recording. If you watch when I press, I go into record mode, and you can see, if you look at the top of the LCD window, the LEDs are red. Press it again, stops, and goes back to standby mode. The other button on here allows you to switch into last clip playback. Goes in, everything turns blue and allows you to play the last clip. Once done, hit it again, and it goes back to record mode. Very simple, very straightforward. All right, so we're functionally tested. We've got a video on both. Everything's in really good shape. As I mentioned at the very, very beginning, setting up all the lens gear drives on the front is a different video. So refer to that. Setting up the TV Logic external monitor, separate video. Going to leave that to you to watch on a different day or a different time. All right, that's it, folks. As always, if you have any questions, you know how to reach us by phone, by email. We have Skype and FaceTime. We're here to help you get things sorted in the field. Please always take time to prep before you get out into the field, so that if there's any issues, we are here to help you get it sorted while there's good time to do it. All right. Hey, great shooting, everyone. This is a great low-light system to shoot new frontiers, so hope it's highly successful. We're here to help, and signing off, this is John.